Hello, my name is Emma and today is the first day of the final Bibliothon. The biannual Bibliothon is a super fun readathon I created with a group of close friends 5 years ago, and we have finally decided to bring this readathon to an end. I am very sad to see the Bibliothon come to an end because it has been such a huge part of my life for the last 5 years, but I am really looking forward to participating for one last time and reading as much as I can this week. So for once, I do not actually have a set TBR going into this readathon. I am currently taking summer classes for my grad program, which are really intense and time consuming. So I'm going to really chill this year. Like, I'm picking up a book that I want to read that does fit challenges for the Bibliothon, and if I finish it, that's freaking dope and I'll start another one. I am getting ready to start my first read of the Bibliothon, which is Unwind by Schusterman. I am mainly picking up this book because I am participating in the Paper Cut Book Club's live show on July 21st. So if you've read Unwind, you should come discuss it with us. I am using this book to complete 2 challenges. The first is the wild card free choice book, and the second challenge is to read a book you've always been excited for but never picked up. What I know about Unwind is that it is a futuristic science fiction novel where teenagers from ages 13 to 18 can be unwound by their parents, which to my understanding means that like their organs are donated to different people, and it basically follows 3 different teens on various sides of this issue. Like, there is one who was specifically born in order to be unwound, there's another who is like a child of the state and they aren't considered valuable enough to be not unwound. I am like a huge Schusterman fan. Out of all the 3 books that I've read from him so far, they all got 5 stars, so I'm really hoping that I will like Unwind as much and want to continue with the series. And then the only other book on my TBR currently is Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I'm also going to be using this book to complete 2 challenges. The first being the group book, which is a long-held tradition of the Bibliothon where we always choose one book for the majority of participants to read from so that we can all discuss it in a live show. And the other challenge is only sort of like loosely being accomplished by this book, and that is to read a book based on the cover. Obviously, my main intention for reading this book is because it's the group book, but Aurora Rising is like super spacey sci-fi, which is not what I'm particularly interested in, but I do really love the cover of this book, and it's one of the other main reasons why I'm actually interested in picking it up, so I feel like it still fits. So unfortunately, my first day of the Bibliothon is very busy, so I don't expect to get a lot of reading done. I have to do homework, then I have to go to campus and do a really long assignment with a classmate, and then I have class all night. So I would really love to read for like 45 minutes to an hour this morning. I don't know if that's plausible for me, but I'm going to read as much as I can. So I'm just gonna like eliminate all distractions, be all cozy in my bed with the AC blasting, listen to some good music, and I will definitely update you guys on my initial thoughts. Head into class, but I wanted to give you guys a little reading update because I have made some progress today. I've started Unwind and I am now 36 pages in. I've basically finished the first 3 chapters, and it details a story of like how all 3 of the main characters come to be together. I have only just grazed the surface of the unwinding process, what it means for the kids, and how the world has adapted to this new law. The writing so far is not my favorite. It is just like significantly less sophisticated and mature than Schusterman's current works, which obviously makes sense because his book was published 10 years ago, so it's much earlier on in his career. It's not like horrendous, but it's just meh. Like, I know it could be better. And I also believe that it is not as science fiction-y as I previously thought it was. With the small amount of information I've encountered, it seems as if they just like kill the teenagers and and donate their organs and extremities. I feel like I'm missing something. It hasn't fully clicked why this is viewed as like the best thing for the country, but I'm very interested in finding out more. And I have actually already finished a book today. I am just like killing this readathon, guys. I'm the best participant out there. No, I unfortunately am not killing my TBR for this readathon. I actually am just finishing up a book that I started before the Bibliothon, and that book is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuestion. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I haven't been reading it for the Bibliothon. It's only included here because I just didn't finish it in time, and I'm so happy to say I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of stuck between like 4 stars and 4.5 stars right now. I have to like fully evaluate the story, but I totally see why there has been so much hype around this book. Like, it really is as good as people have been making it out to be. I just love the characters and the romance. It just made me happy inside. I was laughing out loud for a lot of it because the book is hilarious. There definitely were a few things that I was a little underwhelmed by, but overall the story just like left me with a smile on my face the entire time. I was super engaged and couldn't put it down, so like I would recommend picking it up if you haven't already. Luckily that means I have the ability to start Aurora Rising now, which is my second book of the Bibliothon, so I'm going to listen to the audiobook when I drive home from school tonight, maybe while I'm getting ready, and then hopefully I'll be able to read more of Unwind as well. Good afternoon. It is day 2 of the final Bibliothon. I actually just finished filming my like intro and outro for my host video, and it made me really sad because it's like the last final Bibliothon video I'm ever going to film. Last night I did not get as much reading done as I wanted. Number one, as I was coming home from school last night, I did not elect to listen to Aurora Rising. I was like, I'm gonna listen to Lil Peep for like 2 songs, and then before I knew it, I was home. And then I was like so tired when I got home from school, because I'm usually super exhausted, that I actually fell asleep while reading Unwind, so I didn't get a ton of reading done. I woke up and my book was on the floor, closed, and my bookmark was on the bed, and I was like, damn. But I did start listening to Aurora Rising today, and I'm really enjoying it. I did not have super high hopes going in, just because, like I said, sci-fi like this is not my thing. But oh my gosh, I am so freaking hooked. I love the characters already. I can tell that this is going to be a book that my love for it is not just drawn by the plot, but also the interactions and the dynamics of the main cast. For that reason, it reminds me a lot of the Lunar Chronicles, because that's another book I really love that deals with this super strong squad that's on a spaceship together. Another great thing about the audiobook is that it is a full cast recording, meaning that each character has their own actor, so it's more like a full performance, and there's some audio effects in play as well. So this is like the second audiobook from Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff that I've listened to like this, and I really enjoy it. Did I say how far into it I am? I'm like 2.5 hours in now, and I'm actually going to take a pole class later. It's my first pole class in like 3 months, and it's like a permanent location at a studio, and I'm so excited. If you did not know, I've been doing pole fitness since August of 2017, and due to multiple studio closings, I haven't found a permanent location yet, but I have it now, and I'm so hyped. And that's quite a commute, but I'm looking forward to it because I get to listen to Aurora Rising the whole time. And then I have read more of Unwind. I believe I'm actually like exactly 100 pages in now. Not loving it as much as I thought I would. Definitely the writing style is sort of digging into me. I just feel like things are jumping around a lot, and there's not a ton of nuance to it. Like, I feel like I'm being told a lot about the story rather than being able to make interpretations about things myself. They also have this weird practice where, like, because abortion is illegal, if a person were to have a child and they don't want it, they could just leave it on someone's doorstep, and then that baby is like legally the owner of the home. And it's just like, why would anyone agree to this? It's just weird. Then I'm going to pull, and I'm taking 2 classes tonight, so I will be listening to Aurora Rising on the way there. And I'm thinking that afterwards, because I'll already be in the area, I might take a stop at Barnes & Noble. So yeah, I think I'll just like sit at the cafe, read some of Unwind, maybe edit some more videos, because I just really like the environment of the cafe at Barnes & Noble, so I try and spend as much time there as I can. I'm being really confident that I'm going to be able to get some more reading progress done, so I'll give you guys one more update before I go to bed tonight. regularly scheduled reading vlog for some breaking news. So y'all know my girl Katie Henry, right? Author of Heretics Anonymous and Let's Call It a Doomsday, coming out this August. You better pre-order it. She just sent out what I consider to be a life-changing tweet. Which one of these things doesn't belong? Trick question. Neil Schusterman wrote all of them. Calendar deep, okay, side, all's good here, pixel perfect, unwind. Wait, pixel perfect? You're telling me the iconic 2004 DCOM original starring Ricky Ullman was written by Neil Schusterman?
You may find me just a little strange. I like dancing barefoot in the pouring rain. My mind is racing at the speed of light. I'll dance around you like a satellite.
It's on Wikipedia. It has to be true. So yeah, my mind is blown. I'm gonna go back to reading Unwind, and I feel like just something about this feels different with the knowledge I now have. Good morning. It is day 3 because I fell asleep again last night. I just wanted to give you another reading update before I start getting ready for work today. Remember yesterday how I said I wasn't going to buy any books at Barnes & Noble? Well, I bought 2. One of them was one of the cheapest books I've ever bought in my life, and the other I had a coupon for, so I still did save money on the purchases. The first is The Epidemic by Suzanne Young, which is a part of the program series. Wow, throwback. The main reason I bought it was because Barnes & Noble was doing this thing where in the front where they normally have like really good bargain books, they had another cart where if it had an orange sticker, it was $3. So I'm not caught up on this series yet. I still have one more book to read before this, but I was like, I would like to return to this series in the future, and I'll never find this book for cheaper. I can part with $3 to make my book collection more complete. And then the other book I bought is a recent fave of mine that I just actually mentioned before, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuestion. Have to say, my initial response to seeing this book in person for the first time was very underwhelmed because I don't think it was printed in hardback. Usually if you see a new release in paperback, like it's not coming out in hardback. And so I checked like Amazon and Book Depository and online, just everywhere else, to see if I could buy a hardcover of this book, and I don't think it exists. And I was very sad because I was really looking forward to having like a nice big hardback of this book, but I settled on the paperback. I'm just really excited to own this book because I've been thinking about it a lot since I started and finished it, and I actually just recommended it to my mom last night because I thought it was something that she would enjoy. As for my reading update, I am now like 4.5 hours into Aurora Rising, which I find very impressive because that's a lot of an audiobook to listen to in one day. I do really like it so far. It just has this great sci-fi atmosphere, and even though it like is in space and there's so much technology and aliens and stuff, like it's not that hard to grasp the overall world, which I like. I do kind of wish I had like a summary or like a cheat sheet to read alongside the book. I do that sometimes with backlist titles. I'll like find a summary online and I will read my book and then consult with the summary to make sure that I'm like fully grasping everything that's going on. So I think that would be helpful in Aurora Rising's case. I'm just really pleased because I was not expecting to like it this much, and I can see it being a book that like I really enjoy in the end. As for Unwind, I'm still not like blown away. It's just not up to par for me. Something I've recently noticed is I feel the character interactions are very forced. Historically, I don't really like Neil Schusterman's romances, and I can sense that brewing in this book too. I just feel like I'm told how these characters are supposed to feel about each other, but based on like the actual events of the story and what's shown, it just isn't as realistic to me. Like there's one character who's like, this character who I only knew for like a day and really annoyed me ended up betraying me, but now that we're apart, I really hope he's okay. Something I have been getting a kick out of while reading is noticing like the Neil Schusterman style. He formats his books very similarly in a way that I haven't seen a lot of authors do across their various works. A very simple example is that his chapters sort of go throughout each page. Lots of Oh fuck, I just lost my page. With most books, like the chapter will end and then the new chapter will start on the next page, but in multiple Neil Schusterman books that I've read, it sort of just starts right in the middle of the page, so I find that interesting. And he also likes to dedicate either like chapters or singular pages strewn throughout the book from the perspective of different characters who aren't the main protagonists. So for example, in Unwind, instead of just following the perspectives of Connor, Risa, and Lev, there was a chapter from a teacher who's connected, a pawnbroker, and I think even a cop, who all have their own role in the story, but they aren't like significant characters themselves. So it's really interesting to watch these like patterns that Neil Schusterman has established in his books from like a whole 10-year period. It's really cool. Now I'm gonna get ready for work, listen to some Aurora Rising, and hopefully get some more reading done at work today. Okay, so I think it's like day 4 of the readathon. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, day 4. I realized I didn't update you guys like at all yesterday. I worked all day. I like wasted time for 3 hours. Then I edited, and once I finished editing, I was like so tired I passed out. So I didn't read much after work yesterday. And this morning I have kind of a busy Sunday because I have like 10 minutes until I have to run to Pole, but I wanted to update you guys. But I also have like a few things I gotta do to get ready, like stripping my bed, so I'm gonna give you a reading update while doing that. So I'm on page like 197 of Unwind. I'm just about to start part 5. There's like a lot of parts to the story. And I think I have like 150 pages left about, which is pretty cool. I don't necessarily have a ton of updates. I'm feeling very consistent all throughout the book. I'd say it's probably a solid like 3 stars at the moment. The one thing that I did have a little internal discussion with yesterday, I was a little off-put at the realization that this is a book about reproductive rights, and a lot of the conversation comes from the men's perspective. Obviously, reproductive rights affect people of all genders, but typically it most commonly refers to women. And there was just one scene where it was like 5 teenage boys, and they were discussing essentially like when an embryo has a soul, and it felt very reminiscent of the conversation about, oh, this is getting like really political. It sounded very close to a lot of the conversations about like when life really begins, which is often used to discuss abortion laws, like how many weeks a person is able to abort an unborn fetus. And I don't know, it just like made me feel some type of way, because like in our world that the book is being written in and where this message is being spread, that conversation most frequently refers to women's rights and women's bodies. And I don't know, I just feel like I would like to see more of this conversation being told from the girls' perspective of the story, and I feel like it's focused more heavily on the men. Please don't call me a social justice warrior. I'm just creating discussion. Oh, and I read more of Aurora Rising, and I am like 6 hours and 30 minutes into it. I don't know what that correlates to in chapters. Isn't this just like the most entertaining part of a reading vlog that you've ever watched? So I don't think I have a lot to update you on, even though I have made some reading progress. Mostly, I just feel like my dumbass has not been listening as much as I should be. I've been rewinding a lot, so I don't feel like I'm losing the story. It's just taking me a bit to get through. I really wish I had a summary I could read along with. Is that too much to ask for? Still enjoying it though. Like, it's really, really good. Love the plot, love the writing, love the characters. So yeah, my goal today, probably with Aurora Rising, is not like a specific amount of reading to get done, but just to be more focused. I'm about to drive to Pole though, like I should be driving right now, but I'm going to listen to Aurora Rising on my way there and back, and then I'm gonna shower later, and I love listening to my audiobooks in the shower. So yeah, I should have a lot of opportunity to focus more on it. 5 and I, number 1, have not been doing my best job reading this week, and number 2, have not been the best at updating you guys. Every night I plan on doing like a wrap up for the day, talking about my thoughts on what I read that day. And then I crawl into my bed at 11 p.m. and I pass out with my lights on just because I am so exhausted lately. I have not made a ton of progress in Unwind. I'm pretty much at the same spot, but I do have a couple of extra minutes before I go to work today, so I'm going to use that to read. There's like a little tip for y'all if you are ever in a readathon, or even if you're just trying to accomplish some of your regular daily reading and you haven't been getting to it, just make time for it in a different area and like squeeze it in when you can. And I think doing this will help me reset my motivation to continue, because it has nothing to do with the book. I'm just being lazy. I have been making some really good progress on Aurora Rising though. I know I'm like 8.5 hours in, but I know that's not helpful to most of you, so I'm gonna check the chapters. All right, so I'm on chapter 21 and that's more than halfway through, so I will definitely be finishing it before the end of the Bibliothon. Still really liking it. They're at a position in the story where they're like getting ready to go on like a specific mission and accomplish something, but there are so many obstacles in their way, and I find that really intriguing. I get so annoyed when like characters have to accomplish something and it's such an easy path, and because there are so many things in their way, it looks like impossible that they're going to be able to get the thing that they're looking for. So I'm excited to see how things pan out. And another thing about Aurora Rising is I'm really intrigued by the character dynamics, more specifically like where things are going to turn romantic for some of the pairs. I can't exactly tell who is going to pursue a relationship with another person or who is going to develop more intense feelings. I could definitely identify a couple of pairs that I think are the strongest, but I feel like everyone, all the cast, has great chemistry where I could really see any character end up with any character, and that's really exciting because I feel like with most YA books they're sort of paired off from the beginning and there's not a lot of excitement in figuring out who's gonna end up together. So that's something very novel about reading Aurora Rising for me. So it's been refreshing to read something new. Similar to my desire for a summary, I do wish I had like a map of the galaxy that they are in to sort of just make sense of all of the different places they're going to. There might be one in the physical copy though, and I'm just missing out on it from the audiobook. So yeah, definitely intrigued to keep listening. I will be doing some more listening at work today, and I will be continuing with Unwind, and hopefully later I will have a more concrete update for Unwind for you guys. Okay, let me give you guys an update before I forget the 1000th time. First off, I did not listen to any of Aurora Rising today. I really need to get out of the habit of telling you guys when I am going to read, because I never do. I have made progress on Unwind though. I am currently on page 233, so I literally have like 100 pages left, almost down to the page. I also have some thoughts, finally. First off, I have determined that this book just has too much Connor for my taste. Connor is one of the main characters, and I feel like his narrative just overtakes the story. Like, Risa is my favorite character, and she gets like such minimal attention compared to mostly Connor and also Lev. Connor is just like annoying. Like, he's not inherently a bad kid. He apparently gets into fights a lot and has some like anger issues, I guess, but other than that, like, he's morally good, so there aren't many issues with him. I just don't like him. Risa, on the other hand, is determined. She is skillful and resourceful. She basically just like picks up after everyone's problems, and I feel like her chapters are so short and I want to get to know her more than I do. And I just don't really care about Lev. I feel like where I am in the story right now, he's going through a bit of a character transformation, so I think I can become more intrigued with him, but he is probably, I wouldn't say my least favorite, because like I definitely don't like Connor. I'm just very indifferent to Lev. Also, as I started this video saying that I thought this was a sci-fi book, there has still been like no science fiction whatsoever. It seems like just like a pure speculative fiction novel. We've talked a little bit about what happens to teenagers after they are unwound and how their like soul sort of survives, which is the whole reasoning behind the unwinding process. but that also is not science fiction-y at all. I kind of wish this is a book that had more of those like technological futuristic advancements, because I feel like it would really add to the book. So yeah, I'm not loving it, but I'm not hating it. For the rest of the night, I do have more homework to do at home, but I'd really like to go lay out in the sun and just relax for a little bit after a long and busy day at work. I'm gonna go to the beach and I'll chat with you guys later. So it is day 6 of the final Bibliothon. Today is my host day, so my skit went out, which was very nerve-wracking because I thought it was like super cringy, but a lot of people have been enjoying it, which makes me really happy. If you missed that video, I'll link it down below along with some behind the scenes. Although I have not been updating you guys, I actually have been reading today, which is really exciting. Let me check how far I am into Unwind. So I'm actually on page 300. I only have like 30 pages left, so I am like determined to finish this book before I go to bed tonight, because if I can't, like, I'm just really pathetic. I feel like I want to give you an Unwind update later just because I'm about to run into class, but I will talk a little bit about Aurora Rising, which I am now 10 hours in, so I only have 4 hours left. Definitely will not have enough time to finish it tonight, but hopefully tomorrow Aurora Rising will be done. Number 1, I feel like the authors didn't make Kat likable enough. I feel like they were going through this whole like tough girl, rough around the edges, but I feel like she doesn't have a lot of like redeeming qualities outside of that archetype, so I'm really hoping for more character development for her by the end of the story. Speaking of character development though, I'm just gonna say what we're all thinking. Who the fuck is Zila? Her chapters are so short. It's like a sentence and I have no clue who she is. She's barely ever in this story, and of course I can recognize that this is probably like leading up to some big reveal about her character at the end where she will be much more important. But gosh, it's so freaking annoying to like be reading a book and know that there's supposed to be a character there, but she hasn't really had a huge role at all. I just finished what was like a huge, big, high intensity scene, definitely one of the most prominent parts of the story. I was maybe like a little underwhelmed with the resolution to the problem I was talking about before. Like, it had been built up to be this huge thing, and I just don't think the solution was like as epic as I was expecting. The only other gripe I have about Aurora Rising right now is I'm kind of frustrated by the fact that we still don't have answers to like anything about the book. The beginning of this book is so mysterious. Like, who is this girl? What happened to her? Why has she survived all these years? What is going on with her? What is the point of all of these missions we're going on? And we just have like no answers yet whatsoever, and there's only 4 hours left in the audiobook. So either it's gonna be really rushed and we're gonna find out what happens, and I feel like I could be okay with that, or else the story is going to end with unanswered questions to leave for the sequel, and I'm gonna be pissed. So I guess I hope there's just like more revelation for the next 4 hours of this audiobook. Like, I want to get answers to all of these things. I want things to be concrete so that we can move forward and set up a new story. So yeah, I have to go into class now, which obviously will not contain more reading, and I'm not gonna promise you when I'm gonna read next because I'm just gonna let you down. But like, fingers crossed that I finish Unwind tonight. All right, folks, I am officially not moving from this spot until I finish my first book of the Bibliothon, so I will check in with you when I'm done. So it is day 7 of the readathon, and I'm so grateful. This is a 9-day readathon because I've only managed to finish 1 book so far. I did finish Unwind, and I'm pretty confident about my thoughts on this book, but not my rating. Yeah, it just wasn't as great as I was expecting. It was like fine, it was okay. I definitely had some gripes with it. There's just like nothing to write home about with Unwind, in my opinion. The only like unique and new thing about it was that it dealt with reproductive rights, which many books don't. But other than that, it was just not as great as the other like futuristic, speculative, survival story type books that I've read. I wasn't really connected to any of the characters. Again, the only one I liked was Risa, and I felt like a lot of the interactions between characters were super forced and didn't make a lot of sense beyond the fact that they happened. I do wish there had been more expansion on the whole reproductive rights aspect of the book. While there were a few conversations on this topic and we learned a little bit more about what happened during the Heartland War that like led to the process of unwinding being legal, I just feel like it wasn't an overall strong enough theme to carry the story. Oh, something that really made me angry while reading is that the whole process of unwinding, like how it happens, how it works, is not explained at all. It's like a secret to even readers, and I hate that shit so much. It just feels like such a cop-out for authors to create this whole elaborate world, and then when it comes to like explaining it further and making sense of it, they just choose not to, and I hate it. Would I read the sequel? Maybe. I wouldn't say I am motivated to read the sequel right now, but like I would consider it if I was like, man, maybe let's see if anything improves. I'm not mad I read it by any means. I'm glad I gave it a chance, and I am looking forward to discussing it on the Paper Cut Book Club's live show. As I finish my first physical book though, I do have to choose another book for my TBR, and I am going with Let's Call It a Doomsday by Katie Henry. This is an advanced reader copy, and it comes out in August, and it is one of my most anticipated of the year. It is all about a girl with an anxiety disorder who meets another girl in her therapist's waiting room who claims to know when like doomsday is coming. So it's all about these two girls who develop a friendship while they bond over their shared mental health issues and sort of like how they make sense of this premonition of the end of the world and if people will believe them. You have probably heard me talk about Heretics Anonymous, which is Katie Henry's debut book, which I loved, so I have been super highly anticipating her sophomore release. And if you live in the New York City area and you're interested in Let's Call It a Doomsday, I will be moderating the launch event, which will be at McNally Jackson on Prince Street on August 7th, so you should definitely come and hang out. I'm going to be using this to complete the challenge of a predicted 5-star read because this book has been getting such good reviews from literally everyone that picks it up, and because I already love Katie Henry as a writer so much, I would be surprised if there was like much I didn't like about this book. Also inspired by the cover, I'm using my Andy Warhol Campbell's soup can bookmark, which I really love, so I'm feeling a cute little theme here. Today is kind of a busy day. I work in the morning and then I have to get all of my homework done for Thursday, which is a lot because Thursday is Epic Reads Day, so I'm going to the city and I'll be there up until I go to class. So I have to do all my homework today, need to edit, I have some stuff to do, but I really want to read Let's Call It a Doomsday, so I'm gonna make some time for it. Also, it would be freaking dope if I finished Aurora Rising today. I would love that, so let's see if I can accomplish it. What do you know, I actually have a reading update for you guys. So I have made surprising progress on Let's Call It a Doomsday. I read so much at work today. I'm already 82 pages in. Once I started, I really could not stop. Maybe it's just because it's a contemporary and I've been reading a ton of like science fiction and fantasy lately, or if it's just Katie Henry's wonderful writing style, but I flew through almost 100 pages in such a short time. Alice is such a sweet main character. I feel like she is someone that I would have loved to be friends with and got along really well with in high school. I feel like Alice's anxiety is being represented really well in this book. Katie Henry is just so thorough with what she's attempting to do with her character. For me personally, it hasn't been triggering whatsoever, which is really great, but I do think if you're someone who has very similar to anxiety to Alice, where she is constantly preparing for the end of the world and disasters to happen, it could definitely be a little bit sensitive for some readers. Oh my gosh, and I love Hannah too. She is just so fun, and I really don't know her at all yet, but I'm super excited to get to know her more. I'm actually having a lot of fun trying to figure out what Hannah is actually afflicted with, because we know going in that Ellis has anxiety, but we don't know why Hannah goes to the same therapist. Sounds a little bit like psychosis, but I won't be sure until we get more information, and it's just a very novel experience because I feel like 99% of the time when I read a book that is about mental health, I know what illnesses the characters are dealing with, so it's interesting to have that sort of be a mystery to me as I'm reading. And I've also been pleasantly surprised with some different identities that are being showcased in this book. Number one, I had no idea that Ellis is a Mormon, and she's like very passionate about her religion, and so that's something that I've been really interested in while reading. There's 2 queer characters and an Indian character, and so like I know that Katie Henry writes very realistic and well-rounded casts, but like these are just things that I didn't know going into that I was happy to see. So I'm super pumped to keep reading. It is definitely on track to being a 5-star read for this challenge, which is very exciting. I don't really know how much progress I've made on Aurora Rising since I last updated you, but I have some new thoughts. Number one, a lot of the recent scenes have just been like nice character bonding moments, which has just been sweet. Like I feel like relationships between not only like 2 characters romantically, but the whole crew platonically has been really nice to watch unfold. But along with that, one thing, like I finally have been able to put this into words, is that I feel like this book starts and stops a lot. So like for one long period of time, multiple chapters, there'll be a lot of plot development where there's a lot of action and things are happening and progressing. And then for another block of time, it'll be totally dedicated to character interactions, whether it's like one-on-one conversations or planning among the group. It's just a lot of character dialogue where things aren't exactly moving along. And then it'll go into another big stretch of plot and like the whole cycle reverse. So I noticed this pattern and I realized I don't like it that much. It just makes the book feel a little bit more like stagnant and flat than I feel like it should be. So not the worst thing, it's just been peeving me a bit. And also we still don't have any answers and I have an hour and a half left. What is going on? I think I actually have more questions and still no answer. So I would really like to hit some resolution today. Right now I'm going to head to the library and get my homework done. And then later tonight I am going to my pole studio once again. I'm taking 1 pole class and 1 aerial silks class. I took one a very long time ago and I just like wasn't great at it, so I'm very interested to see how I do now. Somehow in between all of that, hopefully I'd like to make some progress on my books because I'm really enjoying both of them.
Do a split, Emma. Oh my god. Beautiful. Okay, wait. Wow. Beautiful.
Walk your hands down and push the fabrics away.
Hi, I'm so tired. Oh my god. Silks was hard and the pole class I took was level 2 fluidity and it was hard and my body just like wants to pass out, and I need to pass out because tomorrow is Epic Raids Day and I have to get up very early to go into the city. But I have like 2 more things that I need to do before I go to bed. Number 1, I have to read. Even if I read like 10 pages of Let's Call It a Doomsday, I will be satisfied, but I'm kind of hoping I'll read like more than 10 because I like it so much, and once I start I'm not gonna want to stop. But that means I need to pick a new audiobook to start tomorrow. The next challenge I'm going to start, but I'm not really sure that I will complete before the end of the Bibliothon, is to read an adult book. So I'm thinking of picking up a psychological thriller because I've been kind of in the mood for a new like mystery. So I'm thinking I might just like search on Libri to see what my local library has on their digital collection to find out what audiobooks I can listen to and just choose one from there. I will give you a reading update in the morning and I'll let you know what book I chose. Good morning. I believe it is day 8 of the final Bibliothon, so we have 2 days to go. I did actually finish Aurora Rising this morning. I loved the characters and their dynamics. I thought the atmosphere of the book was developed really well. For someone who's not that big, super spacey sci-fi type of reader, I really enjoyed all of the space elements. The ending kind of bothered me though. So I've been going back and forth in this vlog talking about how I have all these questions and I haven't gotten all the answers yet. I've gotten a few questions answered, but still not fully. And personally, I was a little underwhelmed by the ending because nothing felt wrapped up. It's weird because the first installment in this series almost felt like a sort of filler book. Like everything they were doing was building up to what they have to do in book 2, and I feel like book 1 didn't have its own individual like resolution to it. So yeah, I just kind of wish things were wrapped up a little bit more in the end, but it was a really enjoyable experience. The audiobook was top notch with all of the different narrators and audio effects. And so I have decided on the book I'm going to be starting today, which I've actually already started, and it is Stillhouse Lake. I believe the author is Rachel Kane. I asked my friend Alexis, who also has a booktube channel, if he had any recommendations for thrillers that were a little bit shorter, and this is one of the ones he recommended. So I got it on Scribd because they didn't have it on my library, but I've already listened to some of it. And Stillhouse Lake is all about a woman who finds out that her husband is a serial killer. So she has been living in a state of sort of survival with her kids for however long since he was arrested. They try and be as off the grid as possible, but a body turns up in their new town and it seems like things are coming back to haunt them. Where I'm at in the story, there's still a lot of setup going on, but I really like it before. I think the main character is really interesting. I like the dynamics of her children, and I'm definitely interested to see where the story goes because it hasn't had that like hard-hitting thriller beginning that I sometimes experience, so I'm interested to see when things start to pick up. Right now I am heading to Epic Reads Day in the city, so I will be having a vlog for that at another time, but I will definitely keep you guys updated with how much I'm able to read today. Oh my god, I feel like it's been so long since I updated you guys. Epic Reads Day was really fun. I'm getting ready to go to bed to do it all over again tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it again. Surprisingly though, in between Epic Reads Day and school, I did get like a lot of reading done. I started Let's Call It a Doomsday yesterday, and I'm already more than halfway through. I am on page 223 of 385, and the commute to and from the city is definitely a huge reason for that. The great thing about Let's Call It a Doomsday is it is such a quick read. I have not flown through a book like this in so long. Literally, like, I blink and I've read 20 pages. It's like really amazing. On the other hand though, I kind of feel like not a lot has really happened yet. Obviously stuff is happening, like there have been scenes at different locations where different things are going on. I just feel like there hasn't been a ton of progress made to resolving the overall plot, so kind of similar to Aurora Rising. There's character development, relationship development, themes are being explored like sexuality and religion and family, but beyond those things, which I think are being done really well, there just hasn't been a lot of progression for the plot, so that's kind of what I'm waiting on. I am really loving this book. I just feel like I want a little bit more. Also with Let's Call It a Doomsday though, I have a lot of theories, and I feel like with contemporary novels, I don't theorize or predict as much. I'm kind of just like a go with the flow reader, and with like fantasy and science fiction, I do try and predict the upcoming plot twists and stuff. So I'm interested to see how many of my thoughts end up being true by the end of it. For now, I am going to try and read another like 10-20 pages like I did last night, just to like get in that last bit of reading for today. Then I'm gonna go to sleep because I'm really tired and I have to get up early. But I will be reading more of Let's Call It a Doomsday on the train tomorrow, and like, not to set my bar too high, but I think I really might be able to finish it. If I like make a little bit of progress tonight and I read totally on the train in tomorrow and on the train home, like I really might be able to finish this book before the Bibliothon, which would be really cool. A book that I am not going to finish before the end of the Bibliothon is Stillhouse Lake. I haven't really made progress since this morning just because I haven't had the time to really listen to it. So now New Thoughts probably will not get to the end of it by the end of this vlog, but I will of course talk about it in my July wrap up. So yeah, I'm just intrigued to continue with both of my books, and I will give you another little update tomorrow to let you know how my reading's going throughout all of the bookish chaos. Hello, it it is day 7 of the Bibliothon and we have less than 20 minutes left. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to update you guys at all today, but it was Epic Reads Day again. I was in the city for like 12 hours. No joke though, I literally have 17 pages left in Let's Call It a Doomsday. So I am going to finish this before the Bibliothon ends, and then I will give you guys a reading update on my final thoughts on this book, as well as how far I got up to in Stillhouse Lake. I finished Let's Call It a Doomsday with 10 minutes left in the final Bibliothon, so that completes my challenge for a predicted 5-star read. And unfortunately, I did not give this book 5 stars. I'm going to give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It was super fun. It was the quickest book I have read in so long. I cannot remember the last time I read a book in 3 days. So if you're looking for something that is quick and super easy to read, like the perfect book to get you out of a reading slump, Let's Call It a Doomsday is one you should absolutely put on your list. And I have to say, this book really surprised me in more ways than one. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it has a very diverse cast that like I knew nothing about going in. There's multiple queer characters, obviously characters with mental illness. The main character is Mormon, and there's a couple of Jewish side characters, and there were quite a few people of color, which I was really happy to see. There was an Indian side character, a half Brazilian side character, and a Samoan side character. And I really enjoyed the relationship between Hannah and Ellis. I think their dynamic is super unique and not like anything I've read before. They start off as strangers and they're like slowly building a normal friendship, but they also have this like very intense thing bonding them together that accelerates the pace of their relationship. They are super supportive to one another, but then in other situations they don't necessarily treat the other person the most fairly, and so it was very interesting to read. As for the things that made me drop a star, number one, this is not a plot-based book. The plot of this book is unfortunately very weak in my opinion. It is all about the characters and their growth and their interactions with others and their development. That is not a bad thing. I love character-driven stories. They can be done super well, but I just felt like there wasn't enough plot forwarding the story. I just feel like the story could have been a little bit more complex, a little more adventurous. I just wanted more than like internal and external character conflict. I don't really know how I feel about the whole reveal slash twist in the end. It's just complicated. I'm like, is this a cop-out or was this really clever? I'm not sure. To compare it to Heretics Anonymous, even though they are really different, like I raved so much about Heretics Anonymous, so I kind of feel like you guys would want me to compare the two. I do prefer Heretics Anonymous just because the humor in that book was so strong and incredible and unlike any YA book I had ever read. Plus the plot of it was really interesting, which is an important thing to me as a reader. But with Let's Call It a Doomsday, it's not necessarily as funny or as plot driven, but I am so much more connected to the characters. The development has been significantly improved from Heretics Anonymous, and there's a lot of other strengths to it. So even though it wasn't like this mind-blowing 5-star read, it was short, it was fun, it was cute, it was emotional. If you are looking for a contemporary that deals with mental health and religion and friendship and sexual orientation, I would definitely recommend you put it on your list. And as I said before, I did not get around to finishing Stillhouse Lake. I got 42% into it, which I'm still very impressed by because I started it yesterday. And I firmly believe that I would have finished this audiobook if Epic Reads Day had not happened for the last 2 days and it was just a normal day for me. What can I say so far about it though? I really like it. It's super easy to get into. I really want to just fly through it and find out what happens. It's been an interesting reading experience because the main character is so paranoid. She's always on edge and suspicious of absolutely everything. And I've read thrillers where I hate that because I feel like it gives away so much of the story and doesn't allow the reader to think for themselves and draw their own conclusions. But Stillhouse Lake is doing it really well because we get to see when her paranoia is wrong and when there is no threat and no danger. So even when she is questioning the motives of like new people in her life or things that might be tied to her and may not be, like we have multiple instances of her being wrong, so it still keeps me on my toes instead of being predictable. So far, like halfway through the book is where I'm at. There hasn't been a ton of plot progression yet. It's definitely been a lot of exposition and setting up the story. We just had like one or two big significant things happen that are obviously the catalyst of the story, so I'm looking forward to finding out more now. Where we are at this point, it hasn't really been a thriller. I haven't been like creeped out or scared or anything of that sort yet. I'm just intrigued, which is still a good thing. I am greatly anticipating finding out how I actually feel about this book by the end. The second half is either going to be super fantastic and just like totally mindfuck me and I'm not gonna know what to do with myself, or I'm gonna be a little underwhelmed but still satisfied and come away from it feeling like I'm not mad I read it, I'm glad I read it, but it just wasn't the best thing or the most unique thing I've ever read. So I'm intrigued. You will have to wait until my July wrap up to find out how I feel about this book, just because the Bibliothon is now over. Thanks to everyone who watched my host video challenge for this week and to all of the participants who made this the best final Bibliothon there could have been. I feel like a broken record at this point, but I am very, very saddened at the thought of leaving the biannual Bibliothon behind for the last time. I just have so many good memories attached to this readathon that I'm going to treasure forever, and I'm really glad you guys could be a part of the last one. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!